Hey, today I want you to imagine something. Really imagine it. Picture yourself walking into an abandoned movie theater. The seats are coated in dust, and a faint, flickering glow from an old projector still spins, even though no one's watching. On the screen, fragmented frames appear. A fleeting face, a flash of pencil lines, a smooth motion. Then everything fades. You step closer. The image trembles, then freezes at a moment you've never seen in any film before. A deleted scene, or one deliberately buried. Look closer, and you realize what's being projected isn't just film. It's the memory of 1,000 anonymous hands trying to retell the story of forgotten drawings. A voice rises, deep and distant. Don't leave just yet. Stay a little longer. Because if you walk away now, what you're about to see will remain forever in the darkness of the reel. The light quivers, then the frames begin to move. The story begins. You're standing in the middle of the theater as the dust of time falls like glowing rain. The soft hiss of the projector is the only sound breaking the silence. It's the dying breath of an era. This is Hollywood, the time when silent films learned to speak and old films began to disappear. Look into the projector's beam. It's not warm, it's the cold light of erasure. That light reveals a painful truth. Nearly 75% of all films made before 1929 have vanished forever. Not because of war nor disaster, but because of the systematic indifference of the very industry that created them. You see the first frame clearly now, a film vault. Metal canisters stacked like tombstones. Not secret, sealed archives, but forgotten warehouses, damp and unregulated. Look into the dark corners, and you'll see reels beginning to decompose. Acetic acid seeping out, distorting the images. That's not just the smell of vinegar, it's the scent of history decaying. What did the studios do? They calculated. Silent films no longer turned a profit once sound became the new gold standard. Storage was costly, and space meant money. So a cold decision was made, not by a villain, but by a lifeless spreadsheet. They discarded. They destroyed. They buried. Films deemed expired were stripped of their emulsion, the silver nitrate reclaimed and recycled. In each frame's fine scratches, you can still see the residue of regret, traces of a lost romantic scene, a mischievous comedy. Who was remembered? Only those who survived that threshold. Chaplin, Keaton, Lloyd, the lucky few. But what about Lois Weber, one of the first and most successful female directors? Or Sessue Hayakawa, the first Asian movie star of Hollywood? Most of their films turned to dust. They were swallowed by the shadow of the golden age they helped build. The recurring image here is darkness, not the darkness of a power outage, but of absence itself. You reach out, trying to touch the smiling face of a silent actress on the screen, but your hand passes through because she's nothing but light, without substance to hold on to. This is the real pattern, planned destruction. A ledger stamped, processed, has replaced what should have been an artistic chronicle. It's a reminder that, in this industry, art can be valued only by the raw material it's made of. And so, the open question you must carry into part 2 is this. Is the historical value of an artwork truly greater than the cost of preserving it? You turn your back on the flickering screen. The projector hisses one last time, like a warning. The sound of the projector doesn't stop. It follows you out of that vault. Now, you're standing somewhere else, a place where destruction is no longer an administrative decision, but a physical event, violent, catastrophic. You are inside a nitrate film archive. The space is dark, but you can feel the heat. You can sense the tension in the air. Early motion pictures were made on cellulose nitrate, a material brilliant for sharp, luminous images, yet also a latent explosive. Look at the reels on the shelf. They are not just strips of celluloid. They are chemical time bombs. Look closer. The faint light reveals reels that have begun to fall ill. The decomposition of nitrate starts with a smell, then comes the oozing of sticky brown liquid, and finally, spontaneous combustion without oxygen. Nitrate fire is no ordinary fire. It's a fire of annihilation, fierce and unstoppable, reducing an entire vault of films to ash and toxic smoke in mere minutes. The image is no longer still. You are witnessing the infamous Fox Vault fire of 1937, or perhaps the MGM Vault 7 disaster. The frame trembles. Thick black smoke coils upward like a monster. The faint popping of vaporizing reels. The distant screams of workers. This is how thousands of hours of labor, hundreds of stories, were erased. Fire doesn't distinguish between masterpieces and B-movies. It only devours. Do you remember the flickering light from the first projector? Now, that symbolic light has become a flame. That flame is both destroyer and preserver, because when nitrate burns, it releases a blinding white light, deadly and pure, illuminating the faces of actors one last time before they turn to dust. That flame is the final proof of their existence. What's forgotten here wasn't by choice, it was by fragility. It places us in the position of witnesses to a great library burning, helpless before the violence of chemistry and the lack of foresight. Think of what has been lost. Many of Theda Bara's films, the original vamp of cinema, most of the early prints of John Ford's first works. These losses are not just films. They are social data, direct glimpses into the fashion, architecture, and attitudes of a generation. We haven't merely lost stories. We've lost irreplaceable windows in time. You stand amid the heat, feeling the sting of regret. The pattern here is clear: uncontrollable disaster and eternal remorse. It reveals the cost of early negligence, the price paid for choosing volatile materials and failing to invest in safe preservation. The voice returns, resonant and solemn, emphasizing the irony. These films were made to live forever on screen, yet their very substance was destined to self-destruct. And the open question for Part 3 emerges. Without the original material, how can we ever restore the memory that fire has erased? A single ember drifts down, and you transition, leaving the burning vault behind. You leave the fire behind, and now you're in the restoration room. This is a space of complete contrast: controlled light, steady temperature, purified air. You hear the soft hum of air conditioners, the shuffle of papers, and the faint scratch of tiny brushes. This is where the restorers, the memory hunters, wage their quiet war against loss. Look at the work table. It's a labyrinth of film fragments. Warped, torn strips, tinted pink or blue from fading. The remaining cells of a dead cinematic body. This is the work of skill and infinite patience. They are not merely technicians. They are archaeologists, decoders, artists. The symbolic image now is the crack, a crack in the film, a crack in history. You see a gloved hand carefully using tweezers to place a tiny, oxidized frame of 35mm film onto a light panel. The fragment is minuscule, yet it holds something, an expression on an actor's face, a forgotten costume detail. Their task is to find the next piece, and the next, to fill the void of memory left behind by studios or by fire. They work with surviving prints, sometimes only 16mm or 8mm copies sold to private collectors. Sometimes, they unearth a damp reel in a rural warehouse, or discover a forgotten print shipped overseas decades ago. They are the silent heroes, Henri Langlois in France, or the archivists of the U.S. Library of Congress, those who recognized the worth of what others had thrown away. The pattern you're witnessing is the partial restoration. This work isn't about recreating the original. It's about crafting the best possible replica, a digital sketch of what once was. It involves advanced technology, 4K scanning, noise reduction algorithms, but above all, a deep understanding of historical context. Look at the computer screen. A restoration expert faces a missing scene. Instead of leaving a black void, they must decide, based on scripts, surviving stills, or the memories of those who once saw it. Sometimes, they can recover 90% of a film. The remaining 10% is empty space, a place for the audience to imagine. It's an act of respect for what has been lost. They never pretend it's whole. Who are these anonymous hands? They are the ones who accept they'll never see the full picture, yet persist in redrawing it, one frame at a time. They understand that when a film disappears, the truth of an era disappears with it. Technology plays a vital role, but ultimately, it's only a tool. The heart of restoration is the confrontation between human beings and the irreversible. Do you remember the hiss of the projector in Part 1? Here, that sound has been replaced by the gentle click of a mouse, the soft tone of a save command, an effort to encode those volatile images into an immortal format. And the open question you must carry into part 4 is this. If the images can no longer be restored, can what remains, the scripts, drafts, and ideas, still tell the whole story? You step away from the cold light of the monitor and walk toward another archive. You're now inside a paper archive, a cold room, scented with old paper and dry ink. This is where what remains of a lost film is kept, not moving images, but the blueprint of a dream. The symbolic image here is the blurred memory, drafts, scripts, letters, concept sketches. They are faded, yellowed, but they tell a different story, the story of cinematic paths never taken. Pick up a script that's turned golden with age. You see pencil marks, lines crossed out. This isn't the final draft. It's the third revision of a film that was canceled in pre-production due to budget cuts. It might have been a bold plot, a structure too revolutionary for its time. This film wasn't burned. It was buried, locked away by studio caution. The real pattern here is the film as an idea. What we're examining isn't the finished work, but its potential, films that were lost before they were ever made. You see costume sketches, lavish dresses, elegant suits, created for scenes that would never exist. They were designed by artists who poured their skill into drawings that would live on only as historical pages, not as fabric on screen. Or look at a director's handwritten notes on a piece of cardboard. Light should tilt, evoke isolation. Cut this scene, too expensive. These notes are evidence of the creative process, the painful decisions that shaped cinema's history. When the film is gone, we lose the context of these notes. We know the intention, but never the execution. Do you remember the question from part 1 about historical value? When we lose a film, we also lose cinema's alternate future. What if that pioneering film had been completed? Would it have changed the course of its genre? Would it have influenced the next generation of directors? This loss isn't just a void in the past. It's a question mark hanging over the evolution of art itself. The narration softens, becoming contemplative. We search for the face of a lost film in the few still photographs that remain, a faded promotional image, a hastily snapped behind-the-scenes shot. It's like trying to remember someone by looking at their passport photo, still, incomplete, and silent. Your image now is of a hand flipping through a stack of old papers. The dry, rustling sound. That's the sound of truth preserved, but imprisoned. That truth waits to be reunited with the images it can never bring back. And the open question you must carry into part 5 is this. Beyond the reels and the paperwork, what else counts as the legacy of a lost film? And why does it matter so deeply to us today? You close the script, feeling the weight of ideas that never took shape. You've walked through the nitrate vault, the restoration room, and the paper archive. Now, you're standing inside a museum. This is where the surviving fragments are displayed, where the legacy of absence is strangely celebrated. The final symbolic image is the remaining light. Not the bright blaze of a projector or the consuming fire, but a gentle, controlled glow illuminating a glass case. Inside are relics, an old camera, an enlarged still photograph, a moldy cowboy hat. These are artifacts, material witnesses to the fact that the films once existed. The real pattern here is cinematic archaeology. We're reading history through peripheral remains. Look at the camera. Perhaps it once filmed The Duke of Dublin, 1915, a motion picture long believed lost. The camera cannot replay the film, but it carries the fingerprints of its makers, the warmth of their hands. It is a silent storyteller of the creative process. Beside it lies a hand-painted poster. The colors have faded, but the typography and composition remain intact. This poster was once a promise, a contract with the audience of 1920. This is the story you are about to see. Now, it stands as a promise never fulfilled, an invitation to a screening canceled by time itself. And who has been forgotten? It's the emotions of the audience who first watched that film, their laughter, their tears, their astonishment. We may restore the real, but we can never restore the experience of watching it a century ago. Do you remember the tension between humans and technology in part 3? Here, the tension is between the existence of matter and the emptiness of experience. Technology can preserve a still image, but it can never preserve cinema. What is the impact of this loss on modern filmmaking? It creates an invisible pressure, a quiet reminder to filmmakers and archivists alike of the fragility of their craft. Cinema is the most ephemeral of arts, unless carefully preserved. The voice grows contemplative in its closing. All that remains are tiny traces, fragments we must interpret. A scrap of costume, a line from a diary, a candid photograph from behind the scenes. We reconstruct the lost films within our own imagination, using these remnants as a map. You step out of the museum into the glaring daylight, but you still carry the image of the abandoned theater, the hiss of the projector, and the blaze of nitrate fire. We must accept loss, but more importantly, we must learn to preserve the legacy of loss itself. That is the only way to honor what has vanished. Now, you've reached the end of the journey. The projector has gone silent. The light flickers one last time across the empty screen and slowly fades away. You stand alone, surrounded by the heavy silence of a theater that has nothing left to tell. No more mechanical hiss. No more burning light. Only your own breath, and the cold air rising from the dust of the seats. Look back at the screen. It's no longer white. It's black, black like a history erased. But if you squint, you can still make out faint traces of the frames that once danced there. The outline of a face, the passing of a shadow. It's an afterimage, not on the screen, but in your eyes. This emptiness isn't an ending. It's a pause that lingers, a silence that Hollywood has spent decades trying to fill with new films, new stars, yet never managing to erase the hollow left by what was lost. You feel something persistent, a murmur beneath the quiet. It's the whisper of thousands of silenced stories, rising again from the buried reels. They're no longer fragile strips of combustible film. They've become legends, part of cinema's collective memory. Perhaps what was forgotten never truly vanished. Perhaps it's only waiting for someone patient enough to stay until the very end of the film.